Hello, guys. How's it going tonight? How's it going? I am hoping that everyone is having a wonderful Thursday night. And welcome to LIH, guys. Tonight we have a really good show. Please, I need you guys to check out my sister that is coming on the show tonight, our guest, and follow her also. She's doing awesome work. That is one of the things that I dreamed of doing, guys, had I still been in the States. It is to be an advocate for especially women that are in prison and empowering more and more people to be a part of the community of people that have been incarcerated, because at some point people will return into the community, guys. So as you come in, please share the live. If you have yet to subscribe to this channel, please subscribe to this channel as I welcome our guests. Let me know, guys, too, if you all could see and hear us. Let me know. Hello.
Hi, Marie.
Hey, Marcy, how's it going? We are both on the show. It's good to be on this side and be free.
Yes,
I
because we were on the other side behind that razor wire fence, right? And this is quite a different experience. And it's been so lovely looking at your platform and what you're doing there in Haiti. And it's awesome. I'm really impressed and so happy to be here.
Wow, I'm impressed by what you are doing. It's like when I watch you, I'm like, you know what? God positioned us to be exactly where He wants us to be, Marcy, because I'm like, wow, that's always been my dream to get out and advocate for women. And here He sent me to Haiti, and I'm watching you advocate. So it was like, okay, He already had somebody appointed to do what I wanted to do, but He sent me here to do what He knew He needed me to do. So let me introduce yourself to the audience as we start the show.
Sure. So my name's Marcy, and I spent a little over a decade in prison in Texas. I've been home almost 2 years now, just like a week shy of 2 years. I have 5 children. I spent the first year home from my incarceration um, just rebuilding relationships with my family, working on those bonds, trying to heal with my children. And then after I'd been home about a year, I started to share my story on social media. And that kind of just took off. That social sharing my story on social media has opened doors for me to be able to spread awareness about things that need to change in our prison system. It has given a voice to the ladies that are still incarcerated because they can speak through me. It has opened opportunities for advocacy that looks like speaking at universities, speaking in classrooms, going to the legislators and advocating there. Yeah, so that's how that's what's going on with me.
That's what's up. So you you guys have to follow Marcy on TikTok. You are so big on TikTok. I mean, I'm so proud of you. What was the feeling when you looked at your TikTok and saw it going crazy all over the internet?
I was in disbelief when I started sharing my story. It was really just to basically my circle because my parents still had friends and associates that didn't really know I had been in prison. They knew maybe they had never met me or they hadn't seen me, but they didn't know what was up. And there, I could just tell there was kind of a confusion around our network of people. And I started that sharing my voice on TikTok because I'm like, hey guys, I'm here. I added every single contact I had in my cell phone, um, and I just wanted it to be, hey, I'm here. Yes, I went to prison. Yes, I made a bad decision in my life that the consequences of that put me in prison. And I'm not that same person, and I'm here now. And if you have any questions, you can ask me because it's just what it is. And so that's kind of why I started it. When I saw that I was getting this huge reaction, I was blown away. People just were genuinely curious about my experience, curious about my charge, curious about my family life now. And I just started answering their questions. And that's how that platform took off, actually.
Wow. If you don't mind, for some of us, some of the people who are watching us right now or who will watch the show, do you mind telling the people why you spent 10 years in prison?
Sure. So my charge is theft over $200,000. And I was working at a manufacturing plant, and they were kind of doing some shenanigans with their books, not necessarily illegal, but immoral and unethical for sure. They started having me participate in that. Um, that's where the idea started. I saw how I could move some money around, and I not that I wish I could say that my kids were hungry or I couldn't pay rent or, but at least then it would seem like a reasonable excuse. Honestly, I have no good excuse, and I have ran that over and over in my mind. But I ended up taking a significant amount of money from my employers, and that landed me in prison. That landed me with a 20-year prison sentence. So,
What was your experience like in the Texas prison?
oh goodness, that's like a 10 episode series, right? And right? So Texas prisons, which I didn't really know in comparison to other states here, um,
Mhm.
it is definitely one of the worst prison systems. It's one of the most inhumane living conditions. Um, so my I grew up like in a middle class kind of family. I think that my parents kind of sheltered me, even though my parents taught me to be open-minded and have love for everybody as a human, regardless of race, sexuality, or whatever, But in that same breath, I wasn't around a lot of diversity growing up. Prison is definitely completely diverse. So that aspect is kind of a new world for me. Um, I feel blessed that I got to meet such a large variety of women with all types of backgrounds. I mean, doctors to prostitutes to everything, people that grew up in all kinds of environments. And it just opened my eyes to a whole new world and made me so much more aware of communities right here in our country that are in desperate need for help.
Mhm. And one of the experience that I had in prison was a lot of the times we look at each other and you instantly um, like judge each other. But when we start taking classes and you start hearing some of the experiences and some of what our peers have been through, did that make you really look at your life and change the way you view people? It's like being in that solitude moment, right? Being incarcerated, it have you looking at life in a way that's through a lens that's very, very different. Did you ever have that epiphany during your incarceration?
Absolutely. I had, it was about my second year in prison, and I lived in a cell block style dorm, and I had a roommate that was a young lady, and she was kind of brash, and she was just kind of out there, very different personality, where I was probably a little more reserved. And we got to talking like roommates do. And she shared a story about her family, a very personal, intimate story. And it wasn't a good story. It was a horrifyingly sad story. And the way that this young lady presented it to me as just matter of fact, that was just part of life. That moment. I truly had an understanding about the ladies I was incarcerated with, how most of them were broken long before they came to prison.
Mm.
So definitely. And I love that I was able to kind of take other women's stories and experiences and also share that with my family. And I'm hoping, I started opening with me, and then my mom, and then my family. And then now I'm on social media, and I hope that I'm opening even more eyes to that very thing. So.
Wow. What was your worst experience during your incarceration?
So, um, there were several bad ones, right? The prison system, it's very traumatic for all parties involved, staff, as well as the people that live there. By about my 4th year, I started to lose hope. I started to lose faith. I felt like I didn't really deserve to have my family. My mental health definitely struggled. So there were some suicide attempts in that. And just the process of going to crisis management. So in Texas, when that happens with a suicide attempt, you're taken to crisis management. I was put in a room, a dirty 9 by 9 cell with no clothes, no nothing, no bed, just a metal spot on the floor to sleep in, no blanket the first night. Um, Absolutely, that was the lowest point in my entire life up till now, and I hope forever. I felt, yeah, it was horrible.
What were you going through? Because a lot of people don't understand the effect that being incarcerated can have on a person. It can make you, and it can also break you. What were you going through at that time that brought you to your lowest? What was your mental health? What was your thinking?
So I kept getting parole denials. I kept getting denied for parole. At that point in my incarceration, I didn't have any bad disciplinary history. I was a college student. I was an outside trustee. I doing everything paperwork wise that I thought the system wanted from me, and the parole just kept saying no. I began to, sometimes we get a voice in our head that's not telling us the truth. And that voice was telling me things like, I'm hurting my family every day, which that is accurate. It was hurting my family every day. But it was also telling me it would be better off if you were just not alive anymore. It was telling me, my voice in my head telling me things like, if I had passed away instead of went to prison, my family would have been better. And I was just letting those thoughts take over, honestly. I felt like they weren't going to let me out. I felt like I was going to have to do my whole 20 years, and my kids were going to be completely grown. And uh, the guilt also, I think, over the guilt over my crime somewhat, because I had been raising my kids not to do that kind of thing. I had been raising my kids that if they wanted something in life,
I'm thinking our internet is acting up a little bit, guys. I know she is in this where the weather is not good, so I'm be a little patient. If you guys can see and hear me at least while we work on getting Marcy back. And if you guys have yet to check out Marcy TikTok, guys, doing big on TikTok. So I just want to encourage you guys to please check her out on TikTok. And not only on TikTok, she also have a big following, guys, on Instagram also. So if you are on Instagram, please follow her on Instagram, guys. So tonight, please share this live, guys, for the people who are watching. If you have yet to subscribe to LIH Voice, please subscribe to LIH Voice, guys. This is bringing you real life stories, guys, of women and men that have went through real situations and have overcame them, guys, have overcame them. And this is, hold on one second. Let's see if we could get our guests back here. Let's see if we can get our guests back. It's all about, guys, being an overcomer. No matter what you go through, I hope that these stories will inspire you to continue to push through, regardless of what it is that God put on your path. God may not put in your path prison, but I know it could be a divorce, it could be health issues. There is other things that is like a mountain or a depression you can actually go through for years, guys. So I hope you can relate to Marcy's story as she share her story. I'm gonna see if we can try and get her back right now. So, Haitian Warrior King, how's it going? How's it going? Hello to the Queen of Haiti. How are you tonight? I'm doing well. And you, how are you? Jackson says, oh, Marie and Aaron in the chat. Also, the guest as well. How's it going, Mr. Jackson? I am back. You are back. The internet is really, really giving us problems. We're good. You're back.
I'm so sorry. We had an ugly storm. Can you hear me okay now?
Mm-hmm. I hear you.
Okay. I apologize. We had that storm and our internet has been wanky ever since about 2 hours ago, naturally right before we needed to have this conversation. It was terrible timing.
It's okay. It's something we can't control, Mother Nature. So it's pretty much welcome life in Haiti, because a lot of time having similar issues. For me, it's life.
And I don't even remember. I think I was mid-sentence when I cut out, but I don't even remember where we were.
Okay. You were sharing about your experience, what got you into that deep depression. And it was because you were refused for parole several times. And at that time, you just started feeling really unworthy. You basically was hearing it was just not so good at that time.
Yes, that's exactly what. That's exactly kind of the catalyst that kind of threw me into that deep depression, that eventually led me to the ice house. I mean, I had to go twice. I spent 3 weeks there one time and then 2 weeks the next time. Yeah.
So let me ask, what helped you to get over this feeling, the voices you were hearing? What helped you to over that hump? What did you do?
So I don't know that it was like any one thing. So it was like a multitude of things. First of all, I was incarcerated with some really wonderful, supportive women. And I had several young ladies that came to me at that time. I was about 35 years old, and came to me and referred to me as mom, and asked me questions just like my children would ask. They needed guidance, they needed love, they needed hope. And that kind of gave me a purpose, that even though I wasn't able to offer that to my own children at that time, except for briefly on phone calls or through mail, that I was still able to help these other ladies. So that kind of gave me a purpose. And I remember also at one point just kind of saying, Marcy, is this it for you? Are you just going to end like this, or are you going to fight? And it had to be a conscious decision for me to say to myself, you have got to get up. You have got to get up and handle your business. And yes, you're in this really crummy situation that frankly you put yourself in. But it's time to do something with it. What can I do? What can I do with it? And I chose to try to better myself in a way where it wasn't so much I was trying to do what parole thought I should do or what the prison thought I should do, but I was started trying to do what I felt I needed. I started reading books that I felt I needed, and not doing correspondence classes just so I could get a certificate to show parole. And I kind of shifted that way, and it helped me tremendously, changing my mindset from a let me do what I need to do to get out of here, instead of it was kind of like, let me do what I need to do to be okay with myself.
Mm-hmm. You had one realization, because I came out of close custody, which a lot of people don't understand that talk here. And I remember coming up to Medium when we got the text, and then talking to family. Then I started feeling like I was in this by myself. But one of the things that I needed to do before leaving those gates was making it home before I even get home. So I needed to start living the way I would live right there in prison before even getting out of prison. That was not doing certain things and minding certain rules, even though, and you know what it's like, even though you don't want to, even though everything, it was just certain things that you want to do, at the curve, all of that, because had to make it in there before you actually make it home. And I feel it's women like us that brought down the recidivism rate, because we learned that structure and control way before coming out of the prison. So now, being out in the free world, we can actually be a part of our community and have structure with it and respect the community rules. I have a question for you, Marcy. Mr. Jackson says, yes, the weather here in Texas is terrible right now. My question for Marcy is, do you think you deserved parole at the time of your drama?
That's a great question, Jeffrey. I appreciate you asking. So the thing is, I was led to believe by my attorney when I signed for my sentence. It was a 20-year sentence, and my attorney at the time that I signed for that time opened up his laptop and said, "Look, at a 20-year sentence, you see parole right here at 28 months." And he said, "Everybody in prison that doesn't get in trouble makes their parole." And so that's the idea that I had in my mind. He, in fact, had no clue how the parole board works, whether he was manipulating me to just go ahead and sign for the time, or he didn't know. Either way, it did give me the notion that as long as I didn't get in trouble, yes, I felt I deserved parole. I'm also working on a bill, and it's House Bill 1446, I think, in Texas, and it is to the effect that the parole board can't use a person's actions prior to their incarceration to prevent them from making parole. That the sentence is what it's sentenced. The judge issues that time, and it's up to the parole board to say, okay, well, has this person done things in prison to rehabilitate, educate, and not get in trouble? And I am for that bill. I'm for that bill all the way. I love that idea. So
That's what's up, man. I support everything that you guys that you are doing. Like you making a major movement. Do you get overwhelmed at times with everything that's on your plate and everything that you have going on? And I'm sure everybody is like, get in contact with Marcy. Is it overwhelming at times?
that part of it, I live for.
That's
I love that. I kind of thrive when I have a lot going on. And I know I have noticed a lot of people that have come out of prison and done time, that they actually thrive at multitasking and getting lots of
Mhm.
things done. And so that has not, I do get a little bit still overwhelmed with, and not to, because I'm sure my family will see this. I'm not saying I'm overwhelmed with my family, but it's such a
Yes.
different dynamic for a mother to be in prison and just writing encouraging letters and not really having to parent, and then
Mhm.
coming home, and that dynamic can get overwhelming. And there have been moments where I have to, okay, let me take a breath and allow myself to learn this again, because you do have to learn how to manage those type relationships, a parental relationship. So
Wow, we're gonna get to relationships, right? I wanted the audience to get warmed up and kind of get to know who Marcy is. But I'm gonna start before we actually get to the relationship. What was your escape in prison? Like we all had an escape. What was your escape? What kept the body there, but the mind thriving? That you was eating off of something and it kept you motivated. What was your escape?
I definitely had an escape with physical health, with exercise. Um, that was my mental health in prison. It's running around, even though on the Dr. Lane Murray unit, the rec yard is not that big, but I would run around the perimeter of the concrete rec yard and hear my my feet hit the pavement. That was my escape. In those moments of deep exercise in my cubicle or my cell, I was able to connect with my spirit, connect with my thoughts in a more productive way, and tune the environment out.
Wow. So let's get to the relationship. That's a big thing. A lot of people are like really into how can women convince a man, a woman, or whoever to write for years. Let's just say, did you have a pen pal?
I never had. Okay, I had a pen pal that was from my granny's church. It was a church lady. So, and I think that was the only pen pal. I definitely never had any suitors or any pen pals like looking for a relationship during my incarceration. Um, I didn't ever see myself doing that because I knew I was not in a position where I was looking for an outside relationship. So,
Wow. Did you know of others that had a pen pal, and how did you see that going? Because, being in there, there's absolutely no way for us to not see those facts about life behind the walls. What did you
I
see? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw a range. I knew lots of ladies that had pen pals and some ladies that had lots of pen pals. And so I have one quick story behind that. I had a roommate one time and she I I I'm just going to say it like I would say it in there. She made her living writing pen pals and she and I'm saying this, let me just preemptively say, I have also seen people fall in love with their pen pals and hang on to a relationship. But this particular incident, this young lady was most definitely, I'll use a prison slang, selling a dream to several different men in order to get financial help while she was incarcerated. She led each of these men to believe that she was going to have a life and a future with them outside of prison. She told them whatever they wanted to hear. She was a different person for each letter. And it was really fascinating to live in a cell with her and hear her talk about her pen pals and go out to the day room and call them. And it was a really interesting dynamic, but she definitely was getting deposits on her commissary account from these guys.
Wow. It's kind of like, I'm not sure how familiar you are with like the big passport bro things, right? And a lot of the guys, they either, I'm not going to even go there, but why do you think someone would choose to become a pen pal to somebody that is incarcerated? What do you think that they get out of that?
So for these men definitely writing her, they are hoping to make a connection. I believe that there are people that are hoping, letter writing it's can be very intimate. You can really get to know someone through that process. And it can there's a chemical reaction when you get a letter in the mail, as we both know from being incarcerated, how that
Mm-hmm.
feeling, well, that feeling is the same out here. If you get a letter from somebody, you do have a physical reaction to that. And I believe that people want that connection. They're looking to make a connection. And some of it, so that's like the rainbow version, right? I also think that there's a bit of a control factor there. When you are dealing with someone that's incarcerated, you're kind of in a position where you have a lot more power over things. And I think that sometimes that's the intention of someone writing an inmate. There's lots of things. I have also seen people of faith writing an inmate not to form a relationship, yes, but not a sexual relationship or not a
Sure,
romantic relationship, but just
sure.
to offer themselves, because people incarcerated need that. So I don't want to discourage people from
Yeah.
reaching out to incarcerated people, but I do want, I guess, people should just trust their instinct. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Mm. For the women, do you think that majority of them are, we know it's for the financial gain and it's probably for the escape. What percentage of women do you think will not actually go home and really be with that pen pal?
So, out of all of the women we were incarcerated with, and all of the women that are now home and I'm on social media with, um, I do know one lady that married her pen pal, and they've been married for years, and they moved out of the country as well, and,
ET,
so, you know,
if she's
but
watching, hey, ET.
so, but that was such a long shot, right? I haven't heard of any other stories where it worked out that way. Um, I have a friend that is a male. He was incarcerated and he came out and he started a relationship in while he was in prison and came home, and they did try to make things happen, and a year later now they're not together, but no, I don't think it happens very often. What about you? Have you heard anybody?
DT, that's it.
Yep.
And I mean, most of the time, it's not, it's like it's an escape for both parties. Either the pen pal is having problems, in their environment, in their home life. You find a lot of men who are widowers, who's just went through something dramatic, maybe some type of illness or something. And like you say, having that letter is like a dose of happiness coming in. I remember the excitement of receiving a letter. So it's an excitement for both, but it's not often that you hear the successful stories. Now I hear of it from YouTube. Of course, we hear a lot of successful stories, but for most part, we don't really get to see that. So one of the things a lot of people want to know about, and a lot of people wonder about, Marcy, is prison relationships. Before I go to the actual living, I want to talk about prison relationships between inmates and officers.
Okay.
What is that like?
That definitely happens. So obviously I was on a women's prison, right, in a women's prison, and I saw women or inmates have inappropriate relationships with male and female officers. I personally have an issue with that power structure. I think it's very immoral of someone who has complete power over another human, literally power over their freedom, because y'all, an officer can write one lie down on paper and that lie will be taken as the truth, and it can literally take that woman's freedom. So that's why I'm completely against that. And I get feedback from people that we were incarcerated with that don't agree with that. They think that, hey, if the girl initiates it, if she pursues it, maybe the officer's good looking and she's attracted to him genuinely. And so there are a difference of opinions. My opinion is, in that situation, when you're incarcerated, you're going through so much emotionally and physical and emotional trauma. You're not really in a mental place to be able to identify someone as a safe relationship for yourself. and I'm not trying to like take the power away from incarcerated women, but I am trying to make sure that people know they are prisoners. They aren't just women. They are literally prisoners, and it's not safe. And I've seen it turn south horribly.
Oh, yeah, almost all the time. Because either from you doing that, it grants you the privilege temporarily of getting something that you normally wouldn't have. And then, in order to do that, it's going to be difficult for somebody not to zoom in. And I get stories from men that are incarcerated. Men do their time different. It's like everybody mind your business. But with women, they might say it, but it's gonna be difficult for them to, if they see Marcy hit that corner 2 times, then you got like 3 eyes that's watching. Then she gonna tell her friend gonna tell her friend, and boom, it's gonna go to something that it never lasts, and it always causes problems. I always wondered, why did officers take advantage of women the way that they have? And we've seen it where women have been pregnant. I know I knew 2 women personally that I did time with on both on the unit, and was friends with, that had been impregnated by officers. And now, at first, you thinking that's cool. Did you ever think like, well, is that cool or what? You have a baby by an officer, but now it's like, dang, them girls were a victim, and they were only doing that because they were in a bad situation. And a lot of the times, I don't really think they were getting anything. Do you think that that's why? Do you think they were getting anything, or do you think it was mainly because they were being manipulated?
I think that in that position, they felt like they were getting some things, like some emotional needs were probably being met. You and I have both been in the situation where you're very lonely. Out here, we're used to getting some attention from some men, no, at some point, even just noticing, and you go to prison and they defeminize you the best that they can. The state of Texas puts you in clothes that are made for men. I mean, they don't give you proper hygiene items. They absolutely try to take your femininity. So when you get that little bit of attention, it does feel something. So I do believe those ladies were getting a little whatever emotional need might have been met at that time. But I'm just going to tell you, and as well, Texas state law says that there is no consensual sex in prison. There is absolutely no consensual.
Wow, guys, we just lost Marcy again. But as she was saying, guys, there is absolutely no consensual sex in the state of Texas. So when these officers, as just say, take advantage of another inmate or the opportunity, it really, really is wrong. So let's see if we can get Marcy back, guys. Let me know if you guys enjoying the show. Mr. Jackson says both of you ladies are beautiful, so it's not hard to understand that someone would like to get to know you. So my question is, why not keep hope alive? Why not keep hope alive? I will be asking Miss Marcy that as soon as she come back. Mrs. Marcy spoke about selling a dream. Martin Luther King spoke about having a dream. It's okay. Don't get frustrated.
I'm so
I'm
sorry,
used to
you
that.
guys.
Well, it's
we
okay.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. So Mr. Jackson and selling a dream, all of that, it sounds great. And honestly, Just in the same way that maybe an inmate in some kind of inappropriate relationship with an officer is receiving something, I believe that these men that are being lied to, that's what it is. Let's call it what it is, because that young lady definitely didn't have the intentions of going home and starting a life with all of these men. But I do believe they received something as well, kind of like Marie was saying. They probably sought out a pen pal in prison because they were trying to fill a need, a void. And I believe those letters probably helped them at that time. This is the deal, y'all. An officer, if an officer has literal complete power over you, never would I put myself in a situation, and never say never, right? But I would never, and I couldn't do it. I could never, while I was there, put myself in a situation where one person in the relationship had 100% of the power, because you have zero. And I have seen women make an officer mad, whether it was a male partner or a female partner, and it completely turn around on them. And it's just, it ends badly. It ends badly. There's not a happy ending to that. There's not a happy ending to that scenario.
Never. One of the experiences I had, because I had fights. I remember the third time, Marcy, I was denied. It was the most horrible thing. But today, when I look back, God was doing something. Did you ever come across officers that completely misuse their power? And do you believe that racist, especially in the state of Texas? Did you ever see that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I saw officers abuse their power. And let me preemptively say, I also saw officers that went in and did their job effectively, efficiently, and even kindly. But on the other end of that spectrum, there were plenty of officers that took advantage of women in prison. We had like shower stalker type officers that, and Marie, you lived in a dorm where there was 2 floors and there was that shower downstairs, and the officer could stand on the second floor and just watch us shower the entire time. And there were plenty that did that. And as far as racism goes, I was amongst inmates. There was, for the most part, a solidarity, and I didn't experience so much of a racial divide there. But with the staff, absolutely, racism was happening. And from both races, from Black and white, racism was horrible. And so much to the point that, so if I have a friend, and I say I have a Black friend, and we have a white guard that we know is racist, literally anything that needs to be asked, we already know we're keeping her out of the way. We're keeping her safe. We're not going to have her approach the guard. If the guard approaches her, we're going to cut up with the guard, because we know we can get away with it because I look like this. And on the same, the opposite end, when there was a black guard that we knew was racist, my friends would do that same thing for me. Okay, well, just stay out of her way, Marcy. Or if she was harassing me, they would come cut up with her. And that was definitely something that happened. Also, they hated to see almost I'm not going to say the entirety because it sounds so much, but it was a lot of officers had a real live problem with relationships amongst inmates, in particularly if they were biracial. Biracial couples in prison, it was a hard road for them.
Wow. So I want you to, what inspired you, Marcy, to start advocating for women and men in prison? Did it choose you or did you choose that path?
So it was just a little bit of both. I knew while I was incarcerated, I knew that I wanted to do something. I remember my mom, I had made parole, but I had an in prison before I could come home, right? So I'm waiting for that. I'm not going to be home for a year later, pretty much. But my mom's here visiting. We know I've made parole. We know I'm headed in the right direction. And my mom says, "Well, Marcy, what are you going to do?" And I told her, "Whatever I do, I have to help these ladies, and I knew that those same ladies that had helped me in the rawest, lowest part of my life, that I was not going to forget them, that my heart for them was going to remain. And I remember after making parole, starting to pray things like I would pray for, please don't let me forget how this feels, because when I'm gone, these ladies are still going to feel this, and so I knew that. I didn't know what kind of form that was going to take. And through social media, that opened the doors for advocacy. And definitely my heart, I'm affiliated with 3 separate advocacy groups in Texas. Can I highlight them real quick?
Definitely, definitely. You, the show is yours. You can.
Okay, awesome. So there's TPCA, which is the Texas Prison Community Advocates, and they are a kind of a large group that help they help incarcerated individuals, but also have a lot of family members that are members of the organization, and they offer kind of like liaison help between prisons, and they fight to get bills passed. They have a mock prison cell that they set up. They do a lot of panel discussions, and I love them. They're an excellent organization. And then I am a member of the Texas Statewide Leadership Council, and that's where I get all of my training to know how to testify at legislation to help get bills passed. It's an opportunity for me to use my learned experience, my lived experience in prison, to do good. And then my heart is with Lioness. Lioness is Justice Impacted Women's Alliance. It's a group made up of women and girls that are incarcerated or previously incarcerated. All of us have walked the same path, and we are the voices for the women in Texas prisons, and it has been such an honor to work with those ladies. And all of that came from social media. I didn't even know Jennifer Toon is who started Lioness, and you probably know her, but do you
I
know I
know.
never
I'm
did.
a part of Lioness.
Yes. So I never knew her. I didn't know her. I never did time with her.
I
She
did
found me
all
on.
my time with Jennifer Tune
Did you?
on Mountain
Yes.
View. She was our
Yes.
librarian, and my best friend is like best friends with her too, Stephanie Martin. So we're all, it's an awesome thing watching us say. Is we've all went to rec together, her being a book fanatic and working out, exercising, the advice, like Jennifer, I'm so proud of her. Like, I know where we come from. So it's like now watching us on social media is impactful. And every time I come across you guys, it inspired me to continue, because me being in Haiti, a lot of people, they look at you, but they don't know your story. And not only that, people with a story like ours, I find myself in a place that we are looked down upon. We have no value. But then when I come across my peers that are doing awesome things, it just inspired me to continue and like let the haters hate and continue to push on a good path. Like if they say you can't do it twice. Because y'all are, we're doing awesome, awesome things. And whether they like it or not, like we are a part of the community, and that is a blessing. And one of the things too that I watch through social media is the effect of our incarceration. Yes, you have many overcomers story like our stories, but I've came across stories where women have gotten out and they have actually killed themselves. I could not believe that, Marcy. Just watching what we've been through. I myself did 13, almost 14 years day for day. And it was the dream every day to get out. And one of my biggest fear was being returned back to Haiti. And that was happening. So I had to like really, really become a lioness, right? And say, okay, God, whatever, where. And I went home from Murray. I was just in a goody two shoe dorm, F dorm, and we didn't really get to interact. But when I was leaving Murray, I lost here, and it was so much happening and so much going through me. And I know one of my biggest fear was not going back to Houston, Texas. But here I was in Haiti watching, and some of the girls, they had gotten everything that they wanted. They had parole, they got to go home, being kids, they were still in America. These are what is best for me. That's what I wanted. And then to see the post, rest them, and then when you, what happened? Or I know I did a lot of with Deja out of hobby, and it was really, really sad when Deja was such a soul. I won't forget about those could not, that prison had broke so bad they could no longer deal with society because I feel they belong or apart. So that is one of the reasons why I'm a viewer of yours. Like, there's not a thing that you post I don't I may not comment, but I'm always watching because you are inspiring people. Because there are a lot of people with our story that is hiding. They're ashamed because that they will judge or people will say mean things. And I watch some of the mean comments. But being incarcerated, not all stories come or stories are because the story that we like a terrible, terrible in what are we in the so what do you happen? Some of us are so strong in prison. We pay, we do what we are supposed fight in parole. We look normal, act normal, but then somehow was not what they happened from the time of that gay and coming back to the community and you hearing suicidal. What do you think take place there?
I feel like there's kind of this expectation when you get home from prison that all of a sudden everything's going to be okay. Okay, you're out, you're in the free world, and the fact of the matter is, life is hard. Life is hard inside of prison, and life is hard outside of prison. They're just hard different ways, and so I think that unrealistic expectation of coming home and everything being great can definitely make someone spiral down.
to do
Right.
with a lack of support from the community that they go back into. There's, sometimes we may okay, but we're not okay. And that's one of the things a lot of incarcerated men. We hear stories about a lot of men killing themselves, especially men coming out of ag seg. These are real stories that many families face because that system really, really is designed to take us to our lowest. Italian Stallion, welcome tonight. Stallion, have a question for you, Marcy.
Okay.
Italian Stallion, what was there any retaliation from other staff if the women report staff for sex?
Absolutely. Absolutely, there was retaliation. So the thing about, especially prisons in Texas, a lot of them are built in very rural communities, and entire families and neighbors, they all work together. Spouses, siblings, parents and children are all guards there, and they are a community of their own. So when you're reporting an officer, it's not just reporting an officer, it's not just their coworker, it's their neighbor, their friend, their cousin, their brother, their dad. And so, yes, absolutely, retaliation happens. I definitely was approached inappropriately. I had a male guard expose himself to me while I was incarcerated, and I never reported it because I knew the consequences of that. It wouldn't have been safe for me to report that.
Wow. It's crazy to mention that because I didn't experience, because in ODR, you've been in ODR is like really, really secluded there. So anything can happen. And one day I'm behind the counter and I turn around. It was a lieutenant, Marcy. Like, this man had his private part in his hands. And I was really, really fact that he was just so okay with himself like that. And he could tell, like, from the way that I was really, I was not like into whatever he was trying to do. So I was saying to myself, like, some of these officers, not even officers, but even rank, are really, really nasty. So, and like you say, this particular officer, his mother was an officer, his father like an ex-captain, the whole family was like all over Gatesville, and you hear about even had people at Murray or either at Terrace. It was like the whole family. So you could not report anything that you had to literally like what happened when you saw him, you never saw him, that never happened. That's really, really crazy. Black Diamond says, Marie, it was a blessing for you to have to go back to Haiti. If you would have been released here in the US, you would still carry a scarlet letter ex-con. Let me ask you, how easy or how hard has it been before we leave for you to find a job reintegrating back into society? Or is your job solely social media?
Sorry, y'all. My personal experience with finding work after incarceration, I happen to know that Amazon hired felons, and I applied there first, and I applied online, and they hired me right away. So my personal experience has been well for that. I worked with Amazon for a year and a half, and now I'm fortunate enough to be able to use my social media, speaking engagements. I have a fellowship with Texas After Violence program, and that's how I make a living now. But yeah. Now I'll say my girlfriend, not so much. She has she does have a great job now, but it's out of sheer tenacity because I have watched her go on interviews, through the interview process, second interview, start onboarding, just to get that email that says, I'm sorry, your background check came back. Your background came back and we can't let you work here. And it's happened not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 or 5 times, and
Wow.
it's hard. It takes a lot of tenacity. If anybody's out there and you have that felon jacket on and you are looking for an employment, I encourage you not to give up, because I think it's really easy to say, well, I can't do it, and just fall back into that old habit, those illegal ways that you know how to make money. But I promise if you keep pushing, a door will open for you. So don't give up. Also, let me throw this in here. We're also working on a bill, trying to get a bill passed. It's called the Clean Slate Bill, or the New Wings Bill. And it is just that. It's to open up doors for people with criminal backgrounds, so that background doesn't show so much on employment and for housing, things like that. So we are trying to make a change.
Wow. Well, I know some of my friends that did like over 15 years tell me that their background does not show up. So it's kind of like it's really, really tricky because you never know when or whose will show up.
So Texas has the 7-year rule. There's several states in the United States that follow. It's basically the federal government gave a guideline. It's not a law, but they just gave a suggestion. And some states, amazingly, Texas is one of them, they followed the 7-year rule, which means basically when you apply for employment in Texas, they are only supposed to use the last 7 years of your background. Now, there's all kinds of ways around that, because sometimes the company's based out of another state, or sometimes the company just doesn't do that. It's not a law. It's just a recommendation. So that definitely happens. I'm not so sure if mine shows up or not. I don't really know how to test that out, like go apply for a job and see, but because mine's over 7 years, obviously.
Well, Mark, I really, really, really enjoyed you on the show. Like, we definitely have to do this again. This is a brand new channel, and I just thank you, big you, for being willing to be a guest for here. Like, before we end, anything that you like to share with the world, just coming back into the prison. It could be someone dealing with a child that's incarcerated, maybe a family member, anything that you like to share, what type of support, um, what any last word you like to share before we end the show.
Sure. So first, let me say thank you for having me. And you and I, we did time at the same time, and we actually were on the same unit at one point, and we didn't know each other. But I still, because of anytime somebody that has come from where we came from wants my help, or I didn't even have to think twice, because I knew you had been where I had been and you have good intentions. So let's do it. And you invite me back anytime and I will be here. And then for everybody, thank you guys for watching and participating. I can tell that you have a great community here, and I'm excited to see where this channel goes. I'm really excited for you because I think you're awesome and it's going to do some things. You guys can find me on all platforms. I put my handle right there, Marcy Marie 114. And so you guys check me out. There are a lot of family members of incarcerated individuals in my communities. And I always tell them that I know how hard it was for my family and for my parents. And I see you. And I know there's a stigma associated with if you have a loved one incarcerated. That stigma is not just the person that committed the crime, it affects the entire family. And I just want you to know that it's not your fault. If your son is in prison, if your daughter is in prison, your brother is in prison, your mom is in prison, it's not your fault. And you can hold your head up high and you can continue to love your loved one and support them. And I'm just sending love to all the families of incarcerated people for sure.
Wow. Thank you so much, Marcy. I'm gonna put you in down there in a minute. Say thank you so much to everyone for spending time with me tonight, guys. If you've yet to get live, please do so and please share it, guys. I'm not sure exactly why we having this topic, but I'm pretty sure there's somebody there that is watching that was really blessed by this topic. So for you guys that are dealing with incarcerated into that one ship, you just get a broad idea. So guys, please leave me a comment below. You all have a blessed and if you have yet to subscribe to this channel, guys, don't please subscribe. Tell a friend to tell. So y'all be kind to one another. Tell somebody them. Until next time, guys, y'all have a blessed night.